Live from Beit Shemesh and broadcasted around the world, you are listening to the Frum Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Nahum Kligman. Interviews and advice from Jewish entrepreneurs from around the world. Listen, learn, be Matzliach.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Frum Entrepreneur. Today we'll be speaking with the guys from VideoSparks, Mordy Rapp and Amir White. VideoSparks is a video production studio that drives creativity and advertising to a whole new level. Not only do they understand animation, script writing, film, but they also understand business. They know that your goal is to get more customers, so as business people themselves, they implement their knowledge of marketing and advertising into your video. Mordy Rapp. Mordy has a background in fine art, film, and acting dating back to his teens. He has developed a unique way of communicating his ideas into fun and exciting graphics. In addition to this, Mordy sports an honors BA in marketing and technology. Amir White. Amir has always had a passion for film. Ever since he was young, he would recall his days of yore, sitting behind the camera and capturing life, one frame at a time. As he got older, he continued his hobby while pursuing his BA in biotechnology. During this time, Amir partnered up with Mordy to form VideoSparks, where he practices KungFu discipline motion graphics and awesome video production daily. Now, I came across these guys in my last video production we did for my Kickstarter campaign, along with Brian Spector. We had a team of 3 people, and Mordy and Amir were filled out that team, and they did an awesome job. And I just loved the way that they worked together. I love the way that you guys, you know, how you played off each other, how you each knew what each other's skill sets were. And it was just like, it was brilliant working with you guys. So I wanted to interview you. I know there's a lot that my audience can learn. So why don't you give us a little bit more background on VideoSparks?
Thank you for those kind words.
Sure.
The background behind VideoSparks? I guess we've been doing this now for, 4 years?
I think so.
And it's kind of been an interesting experience learning about what kind of clients we actually want to offer our services to. And we've been kind of lowering who our target audience is almost every year and kind of creating these niche markets that I guess appeal to. And that's been an interesting thing. But VideoSparks was, as you said in the intro, at least for me personally, it's always been a passion of mine to make videos. And when I was in film school, I actually switched out when I realized that a lot of the people there were artists. And they were missing kind of that one major drive that I had, which was to make money. So I switched to business school, learned marketing, and then it was just kind of a natural transition to use my passion for film and bring it to make a whole company.
By the way, that's Mordy.
That was me, Mordy.
And you started off mainly as animation, and then you moved to live filming, or is it still the same mix, still the same focus? How do you guys break it down?
I think the majority of the work we take on is animation work at this point. It's much more, we're able to manage a lot more projects at once with the animation because film work tends to be a lot more time consuming. So we don't really have the scaling abilities by film that we do with animation.
It's still so. I mean, you guys have been doing this for, you said, 4 years now. So how did you guys originally meet? How did VideoSparks get born? What was that process like?
So actually, before I met Amir, I actually had my own company called MR Productions.
Mr. Productions?
That
right. Was you?
MR stood for Mordy Rapp, in case you didn't pick that up. Had my own card and everything. I was like, I must have been like 15 or something when I started doing this, and for money, I guess. So I took on a handful of projects, mostly film work, no animation, really. Then it became more of a hobby, whatever. I put it to the side, I started working for someone, and Amir and I actually met there on a professional level, although...
On a personal level, we went to camp together 15 years ago.
Which camp?
Camp Moshava Ennismore.
Ontario.
Wait, that's not the same. Wait, does Camp Moshava in Ontario and Camp Moshava in the States? Are they related?
They're both part of Bnei Akiva, but 2 different camps.
Oh, so you guys met in camp 15 years ago. Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, and then we also went to Yeshiva.
And who knew back in those days when you were eating pickles that you would be one day working together?
Well, I'm actually 3 years older than Amir.
It always stems from the pickles.
Oh, you're 3 years older?
I'm 3 years older than
Pickles
Amir.
were big when I went to camp. I don't know.
But he was still able to beat me up when I was, I was 14 and you were 11. You were able to beat me up.
Some things will never change.
That's embarrassing, but hey.
And then you met again back.
Then we both attended the same yeshiva, different years. Mordy went to the army, came back to yeshiva as madrich when I was still learning there.
And which yeshiva?
Levi Torah.
In Ramat Beit Shemesh.
In Ramat Beit Shemesh.
Very nice.
Yeshivat Lev Torah and Ramat Beit Shemesh.
Very good. And so then how did...
So Mordy was working for a separate company these years later, doing animation for them. I just gotten married and was looking... It really all started, I was looking for something I could do part-time while in school to, pay the rent and the bills. And Mordy was like, hey, why don't you come work with me? So I guess Mordy got me started learning on a vast amount of free tutorials for teaching yourself animation online. Everything that I learned that I know today was all started from free tutorials on the internet.
Oh, wow.
And really, I was able to develop that into, what we're doing today. But it all started there, and I spent my time doing that. And then Mordy and I started working together for a separate company. And then, I guess, to be politically correct, things weren't working out so well for us.
It wasn't a good shidduch. I guess the business relationship we had with the company we were working for was not a good shidduch, and it was very clear to both parties that we should leave, and so we left to start our own thing. And I think how long did it take for us to come up with the name?
I think a day.
Yeah, we just all right, we need to buy
or we need a website, we need to buy a domain. Let's come up with a name. And we just threw out 1,000 different names. And
it was based on what was available, but it all worked. It worked.
No, VideoSparks, it's a great name. It really is.
We sat on GoDaddy and typed in things and tried to figure out what names, what URLs were available. And
the second best option was VideoSparks.
Videos.parks.
So you were working for another company, and then you left basically, and you were just continued to do the same type of work, but now you're working for yourselves.
Right.
Yeah, and I already had a client base previous to that. Like I said, because I was doing it more of like a hobby in exchange for like small compensation. So I had a client base that I was able to hold on to, and I went back to that client base basically.
So let me ask you, you guys, you're both married this time. I remember you said you had just gotten married, and Mordy, you were also married?
Yeah, I was married, I think +1 at this point.
So let me ask, well, Amir, you can't see this, but Amir's saying no, and Mordy's like, I think I had a kid then. Okay,
I mean, you only got married 6 months before me, and I had just gotten married, so I can't...
But I'm 3 years older, so like...
We'll let you people do the math out there.
When you guys decide to leave this company and start your own, what did your wives say? Were they fully backing you? Were they a little weary?
That's a good question.
I can't speak for Mordy on this one, but my wife was completely supportive.
That's great.
She, for some reason, thinks that whatever I put my mind to, I can accomplish. So she backed me.
Does she still think that? 100%. I mean, it's 4 years later.
Still does.
Okay,
still does.
That's a good wife.
I haven't been evicted, so she still does.
Oh, let me add to this. I have to ask, you're all wondering, why did I choose Amir, who didn't really have much of a background in film, or for that matter, why I wanted to partner up with him?
That's a good question, actually. He didn't know anything about animation. He was learning from online video tools how to animate, and he said, hey, this is the guy for me.
So like Amir's wife, it was very clear to me that I saw a person who, if he puts his mind to something, he will accomplish it. And I know what I brought to the table, and I need someone who could, fill the remaining 50%, and Amir was that guy. It was just very clear, how quickly he learned, and any problem that we came up with, he was able to figure out. So it was a great shidduch.
So if you guys were into rocket science, and you would be Amir figured this out, and that would have been also, you just happened to be into animation and video production.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I ask him to make a bomb for for fun,
Let's
thank you for those kind words.
Let's get down to a little bit more details of how you guys work, and besides obviously after davening in the morning, how do you guys focus your first hour of your day?
Drinking coffee.
Like all good entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, my first hour of my day, I like to really just answer every unanswered email, if there are. And I pride myself on answering emails within 5 hours from when people send things to me. But if they're during that gap when I'm asleep and davening and haven't had time to respond to people, I like to fill that hour just responding to everyone, letting people know, where we're holding, where things are going, following up on leads, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. And Amir?
Yeah, no, following up on production emails, letting people know where we're holding production-wise on their products. In general, our workload division, Mordy handles a lot more of the sales, business development, more on the production end. So I have a lot of contact with clients, having sent them drafts of whatever we're working on or updates at the end of the previous day. People respond. I spend my morning replying to emails and making sure everyone is up to date on what we're holding.
Yeah, as a creative studio, I know I hired you guys, and when you work with creative people on the other side, we just can't wait for that email from you. We can't wait to see what you're working on. And I know that it's a time-consuming process. Animating and creating quality videos is not something that takes 10 minutes to do. And I know that business people sometimes have their, eager to get what you guys are creating. So I'm sure you get a lot of emails saying, anything new, anything happening,
Oh, yeah, for sure. People have no idea what goes into creating a video or an animation for that matter. They assume, you show up, you film, and then the next day, hey, we have a video.
Right.
Maybe we should just start sending them links to other videos that have been made, like really well done things. Hollywood Productions. Here you go.
Right. If you have a budget, it's like a lot of these, quote unquote Hollywood things, or even shorts, can take a year to make, and people have budgets of $1 million plus. Here, people are paying you what's your average deal? 10 to 20,000.
So for 2015, actually, our pricing model has been $3,000 for a 60-second animation.
Wow, for the quality you guys give, that's really under market.
Yeah, for sure. I think we strategically placed ourselves in this spot that for, let's say, bigger companies who have larger budgets, it's a no-brainer. They're taking 5 videos, of course, why not? And then for the, let's say, like the startups who have, a little bit less flexible with their funding, it's something they can afford to get a very high-quality production.
Right.
So anyway, we lowered our prices in an attempt to see if we can make more sales based on the lower price, because we really only need to make around 1 extra sale a month to offset the lowering in cost of our videos.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it will turn into more than 1 extra sale a month. And
no, it's already working. I can tell you straight up.
You can visit VideoSparks.net. Obviously in the show notes, I'll have all the links to everything you need. But you guys, have been working with some pretty large companies. I think I saw Our Crowd, right, is one of them. And, they've become pretty huge. Glide.
Yeah, it's so funny. Some of the companies that we've actually worked with are now huge companies.
Weren't necessarily when we started working with them. Yeah. I'd like to think that's because of the work we did for them.
Right.
No, of course it is.
They may beg to differ.
It's because of VideoSparks.net that they all made all their money.
Another big kind of KungFu, a big marketing firm.
Yeah, I remember when KungFu was first getting started. When I found Viewbix back. Viewbix is another company you guys did animation for us back.
Hopefully,
a couple
big
years
things
ago.
Coming for them soon.
Zrat Hashem. And yeah, KungFu, I remember when they were just getting started, and now they raised like 30, 40 million, something like that?
That's like their 4th round at least, something like that. I don't remember exactly. Well, actually, one of our most exciting experiences ever was we were making a Kickstarter campaign for Zuda Labs, who made the pocket printer.
Right.
And the video we made for them, and we got to witness this real time, their Kickstarter campaign within 5 days.
Raised about $500,000.
$500,000 in 5 days.
And now they're one of the hottest Israeli tech companies.
Right, they just won an award at CES, right?
Like one of the top product awards at CES. They're doing big things.
Amazing. So you're saying basically for your $3,000, you're getting a lot more than just an animated video.
Well, that's for the animated videos. For live action, it's a different pricing model, and that's a per client basis.
You were saying also in your very nice introduction, at least Mordy's official educational background is in marketing. So more than just creating a video, we like to help our clients actually market that, and the content that goes into a lot of marketing strategy goes into developing the content, the creative content, and the video itself, because you have to, people are watching the video and you need to know exactly what to tell them.
Right. All right, guys, what would you say is one thing that has you fired up right now?
Personally, I enjoy just the high-tech scene in Israel. I love just kind of seeing these things like all these companies who we've been exposed to and even been in touch with, whether they're clients or not, like, okay, they just got purchased, or they just got a $20 million round of funding or whatever. It's just very exciting to be in this relatively small country, Israel, yet at the same time, we are producing the coolest stuff in the world, and this this technology that's so global and so desired from every country around the world. So, that's, for me, that gets me really excited.
And Amir?
Aside from what Mordy said, it's just it's very exciting to, we were saying a lot of these companies that we've started working with started out, very small, and just to watch them explode. It's
right. You were
amazing.
there. You were there when they were just getting started and getting their first video out, and now you've seen them grow. And I think one of the things, just noticing a little bit of a pattern, because I know you did video for my Kickstarter campaign, and I know you've done a few others. Do you see yourselves getting more involved in that niche?
So Kickstarters are actually, it's an interesting experience. At least this year we are definitely focusing on it a bit more in terms of integrating that into our sales cycles and looking for clients that want those kind of products. But I find it's like an interesting mix of people so Kickstarter videos or campaigns are for companies that don't really have money yet.
Right. That's a good point. Most people when they're starting Kickstarter, every dollar counts until they actually raise the funds that they need.
No, so we've been trying a few different approaches with making Kickstarter videos on how to make the sale. A lot of it can do with, sharing a percentage of the funds goes towards the video. We'll put up our work at no cost, on condition that we make a, X percentage of whatever funds are raised from the video, which is definitely a dangerous game to play. And it's only something that, we'd be willing to do if it's a product that we really believe in. But aside from that, Kickstarter campaign, a lot more goes into a Kickstarter campaign than just a video. So.
Well, that I know from, firsthand, but video, anybody out there that's, planning on doing a Kickstarter campaign, having a quality video is definitely huge. I mean, first impressions are everything. The first thing someone's going to do is watch your video. And I understand about budget. If someone has a product out there and they come to you and you guys are blown away, yeah, they have more of a risk. They maybe end up paying more than the $3,000 for that video, but in the long,
I wouldn't be able to raise that money initially unless they had.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, when a client does have the money for a Kickstarter campaign, they are a lot of fun. We're working on our 6th Kickstarter video now, and it's actually really enjoyable. You'll see it's going to be coming out within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Sweet.
And this one, it's really fun because for us, we like to kind of up our production level. So this one has like a set designer and an actress, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Great.
But again, like I was saying, is the other risk with doing rev shares on a Kickstarter is, so you can really believe in the product and produce an awesome video, but if the campaign itself isn't run properly,
that's true.
Then they're not going to raise money. That's another thing that we're trying to approach, is to get more involved in the running of the campaigns. I guess it's also an upsell to whoever the client is, but you want to have hands on making sure that the campaign is run properly, because otherwise you're just not going to get paid. Plenty of good products on Kickstarter that probably most of you have never heard of because the campaign wasn't run properly.
Right, no, that's true. And yeah, a lot of times you'll see, like, what was the one that just made the $14 million? The
Exploding Kittens?
No. How much did they end up making?
I don't know. For sure, the most
the cooler, the cool cooler
product.
Yeah, it was the most backed. And then there was another one for Reading Railroad.
Reading Rainbow.
Reading Rainbow, okay. But that was a famous actor who had a show for like a number of years.
Yeah. They reached their goal in 24 hours. That's insane. That's really nuts.
Reading Rainbow was the show that he was on.
Reading Rainbow was the show.
Star Trek. But.
And a little show called Star Trek.
Small show.
Right. Sometimes people can create an awesome video, but there's a lot more in making your Kickstarter campaign successful. But I was saying about the cool cooler is that when they ran and they end up becoming, the largest funded or most amount of funders, this was the second time they released a product. The first time they released a product, they didn't reach their goals. So they went back to the drawing board, worked on making the product cooler even, and then they relaunched and, just hit the right nerves or whatever and exploded. All right, I like one of the things I like to do on our podcast is, people like hearing about the successes and stuff, but we could really learn from the challenges we have as entrepreneurs. So why don't you guys give me your worst entrepreneurial experience and the lessons you learned from it?
There was a fairly large startup accelerator, like pre-seed stage startup accelerator, that had approached us about buying into their program, and we would have, exclusivity with their global network of startups that were part of their accelerator. At least that's, how it was explained to us. We were told, you'll buy into our system and we'll guarantee you business.
Wow.
It was a hefty sum of money that we had to buy in for, and it all seemed.
I said, wait, and there's an accelerator. Accelerators usually give you money.
No,
we were a sponsor. We bought in. We were to buy in as a sponsor.
I see. Okay.
We would have exclusivity as a media
to do all the animation and videos for all their
hundreds of companies.
That sounds awesome. Off the yeah.
It's amazing. It was a big time company. Very legitimate, great reputation. We had no reason to think that it wouldn't be awesome, and for the money, it was a lot of money, but would have paid itself off.
Yeah, we mitigated our risk by, it was very clear, like we have all the emails, it's kind of funny, that it was a salesperson. We didn't talk to the owner of the accelerator itself, but the salesman who was dealing with us made it very clear, like there were certain terms that were never actually met, and then the sales guy was fired.
Ooh.
And so we're like, okay, so give us back our money, right? Of course.
Right.
It was a lot of money. It was 5 digits.
Yeah.
If it was more than 5 digits, that would be...
Yeah, no, but I'm saying for us, this was at the beginning. These were at the beginning. This is at the beginning years, so like it was really...
Basically, they had guaranteed us business, but months go by, nothing's coming in, always this excuse, that excuse, we're fine-tuning things, fine. It all made sense, then finally one day, we're like, okay, this is getting ridiculous, we need to get in touch with the CEO. We get in touch with the CEO, and we explain to him, what's the situation. He's like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I never would have guaranteed any of that to you. I was like, okay, but your sales team did, and here are X amount of emails
and I quote, going
back and forth.
Am I my brother's keeper? He didn't say that.
So you're not quoting then. Okay. And he's like, yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. Why would I ever promise you that? I was like, I don't care why it doesn't make sense to you, but your sales team promised that to us.
Right.
So a week later, the guy, our point of contact with the company gets fired, and nobody, then we become pariahs. Nobody wants to talk to us. Nobody, meanwhile, we have all this money that we had laid out for it.
Right.
Nothing to show for it.
Wow.
So months of chasing after them and finally threatening with a lawsuit, they, returned to us half of our money and then, disappear. And we were advised by our lawyer as well as other
entrepreneurial friends.
Just be happy you got back half your money and let it go.
For the amount of money that's left, a lawsuit's not worth it. Plus, it's going to be in the States. You got to fly back and forth to deal with it. It's just not, even if you do win, the amount of money you're going to make is not going to be worth the headache that you put into it.
So what was the lesson, Amir? What do you think?
The lesson...
What would you have done differently?
The tough lesson, I don't know what the lesson was because on paper it all made sense.
I have a lesson.
Go ahead.
My lesson, I actually learned this from the CTO of Glide. I remember talking to him about something else.
Jonathan Karras.
Yeah, so he told me that...
But we're going to hit him up for an interview also. He's awesome.
So I hope I'm allowed to quote him in his name.
Go ahead.
You'll have to ask permission. So he told me there are times in your life where you're going to get screwed, and that's just it. You just have to be prepared. That's just part of life. It's part of business.
Right.
And you can't just sit there and mope on it. Okay, so bad stuff happens. Okay, move on.
Right.
We bounce back.
Everything's been a shemayim.
Yeah, I mean, look, we definitely didn't sit around moping about it. And it happens to be worked out very well in the sense that, the initial investment money came from my parents. Thank you to them if they're listeing.
Right.
So
I hope they're
it's not
listening.
no one's chasing after us for the money. It would have been a bigger problem if, we had taken out a big loan for this and then we'd be, stuck paying it off now with nothing to show for it. But
Right.
yeah, it was tough because I don't know, presented with the facts as they were again. I'd be hard pressed to not do it again.
Yeah, of course I would do it.
Right.
Yeah,
Is
sure.
it just made right? No, it seems. Was it almost too good to be true? Maybe.
Yeah, I think
It was
so.
way
Maybe
too
you
good
should
to
have
be
gone
true.
hindsight.
to an
In hindsight,
executive in the company, not just speak to the. Maybe that's a lesson we can learn. It says if a sales guy is selling you something,
So we had it.
before you sign the deal, speak to someone in the executive level. Make sure it's the real deal type
So we
of thing.
definitely had spoken to the CEO beforehand, but he had made it clear to us that the guy we were dealing with was, he's his liaison. This is how it is, and on paper, the contract that we had was solid.
Well, you know what? Here's when you look back at it, the contract wasn't as foolproof as I would have liked it to be. Meaning, it wasn't so much in our favor contract-wise, because most of it was in conversation. So the contract used a lot of jargon. It was very ambiguous. Right. So if you held up let's say that contract, and you put it side by side to an audio conversation that we had with the salesman, okay, so it makes sense, but it could easily be manipulated for something else, and I think that's what the CEO did. And, so he was able to just kind of walk away and say, well, sorry, guys.
Oh, wow. Well, now that we had a story, one of your challenging stories, how about a story of Siyata Dishmaya, where something out of nowhere, just give us a great story, Siyata Dishmaya, inspire us.
Okay, so first and foremost, I want to just say we're going to
Besides working with me.
Oh... we have a couple of kind of religious themes in our office. The first one was we used to be really good at this. I think I'm now kind of reminding myself about it, but that every time we made a sale, we used to kind of read Tehillim publicly in the office.
Oh, that's nice.
Some companies have a sales gong.
Right. You hear the thing go up.
Yeah, we have sales Tehillim.
Sales Tehillim. That's great.
That's from Rebbe Nachman, who always says that just Tehillim isn't always about just when you have a tzara. It could also be when something great happens to you. So we read Tehillim out loud.
Beautiful.
And then this is kind of the antics Siyata Dishmaya, and I'm speaking to myself. The classic thing that, B'koach Yadi, fill in the sentence.
No, I want you to do this.
I don't know.
Come on, Mordy.
Basically, the idea is that it's very easy to kind of forget about a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and you say, no, the reason the sales are coming in is because I'm awesome, or because of this thing that we did. Oh, I changed it, so I'm great, I'm awesome. And then you kind of forget, thank Hashem, and you forget to say, well, he's obviously the one running the entire process from beginning to end. And I find personally this happens both in business and in my life in general, that the minute you kind of forget about Hashem, then he'll start taking things away. And then he kind of reminds you saying, don't forget, I'm the main player here.
So you've seen that type of pattern in your business.
100%.
I think the phrase you're looking for is B'kochi v'otzim yadi asali asachayil hazeh.
Yeah, say that again. And then
Actually, send me the quote. We'll put it in the show notes.
That's right.
Yeah, no, there were definitely months that, early on, we definitely weren't making the money that we wanted or needed to, for that matter. And there were definitely months that came by that, the bank's coming after you.
Right.
And then just when the bank is about to, take you away, that sale comes in.
The sale comes
kind
in.
of pushes them off for another month.
That's awesome. Okay, we're going to just ask a couple more questions, and we're going to close with our famous charity plug. What is the best advice you guys ever received?
I got an amazing advice from my friend, and I hope I'm quoting someone without his permission, but you have to quote people in their name.
Sure.
So from John Stefanski,
I think it's halacha.
It's straight up halacha. You have to quote in the name of the sayer. So this sayer was from John Stefanski, CEO of Vubix, that I asked him before I joined this partnership with Amir, what's the best advice you can have for a successful business partnership? And he said, treat your business partner like you would treat your spouse.
He definitely does that.
If you see how he treats Hillel Scheinfeld, they definitely have that relationship. You know, their working together is very inspiring, and you know, both smart, good guys. You know, that's definitely noted. If you're saying treating your business partner how you treat your wife, and so you guys are. I mean, like you said before, when you left the company, it's sort of like divorcing. You know, business relationship is like a marriage.
Yeah, well, business partnership is like a marriage. My client relationships is pretty, it's business as usual. But with Amir now, we have to we have to leverage each other's lives. Like we know everything about each other for the most part. I think I'm probably a little more open than Amir's because Amir's yeah,
he's very closed.
He's a very emotionally closed person.
Right.
Sometimes he cries on my shoulder.
Okay.
I cannot confirm nor deny that.
Also, we like to hug.
You guys are big huggers?
Yeah, I am.
Beautiful. I know at my company road shows, we have a lot of hugging. Hugging is a big theme for us. Okay, how about a resource that you guys use that you think would be beneficial to entrepreneurs? Something online, a program that you use that you found?
For anyone who wants to learn After Effects, you got to give a big shout out to videocopilot.net.
Videocopilot.net, okay.
That's just a great way to get started if you want to learn how to use After Effects. That's the program used for animation. A lot of really fun things, make explosions and whatever, really, really cool stuff.
Can somebody that has no knowledge of coding or programming use it, or you have to have some sort of skill base?
I mean, you have to have a beginner set of tutorials, but I think his question was more geared towards general entrepreneurs as opposed to people who want to learn how to make videos.
Well, that's okay.
Let's take it back.
I think that's okay.
Rewind.
Erase.
I don't know. I can't think of it. What about we have a good resource?
Okay, so we'll stick with that. I mean, I think people would be interested to check that out if you wanted to get into animation. Our last question, what book would you recommend to our listeners and why?
I don't read much.
I don't read business books.
No business books?
Nothing.
We like to learn by doing. We're not big into theory.
Okay. And last but not least, something I'd like to do with our podcast is give a shout out to Tzedakah organizations that we support that try to help spread the good. So what Tzedakah organization do you guys support and why do you support them? And we're going to put a link to their website on our show notes.
I'm going to go with one of two that we work with. One would be Gears. It is a
Gears awesome.
Ramat Beit Shemesh nonprofit that teaches leadership and life lessons to youth through the fine art of mountain biking.
Fantastic.
Wonderful organization, has done wonderful things.
All right, so Gears, yeah. Do you guys actually do any bike riding with them?
I happen to work with a group once a week and sit on the board of directors.
Who's behind that?
Nachum Wasowski.
Wasowski, right. I heard great things. Rabbi Nachum Wasowski.
Really do wonderful things. Like the amount of feedback, positive feedback that we get from not only the parents of children that are in our groups, but also the teachers and, doctors of these kids. It's amazing.
Awesome. Okay, we'll link to that in the show notes as well. Anyway, guys, I know you guys are super busy. I appreciate the time you gave me, and I look forward to getting this live. And thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for
thanks for having
this conversation.
Us.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Wonderful.
We had a great time.
Great.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Frum Entrepreneur Podcast with Nahum Kligman. We hope you learned something valuable and will share this with your friends. For show notes, archives of previous episodes, and more information to help you start and grow your business, please visit our website, www